Hi there, welcome to another video on, this time it's going to be expanding brackets, alright. So it's a skill that hopefully you've covered before, but if not, I'm going to show you how to expand a bracket first of all, and then we're going to look at maybe expanding more than one bracket to see how that kind of comes together. Alright, so let's have a go. So what do I mean by expanding a bracket? Well, normally what you'll have something outside a bracket, and then a number of things inside a bracket, and your job is to expand it. That means get rid of the bracket, so multiply everything out. All right, so probably best looking at an example in terms of how we do this. So here you've got 2, a bracket, a plus 5. And what that essentially means is it's 2 times everything that's inside the bracket. So it's 2 times the a and it's 2 times the 5. And of course all you need to do is basically do that and write them separately. So if I said 2 lots of a and 2 lots of 5, then that's expanding the bracket essentially. So you must multiply a by 2 and you must times the 5 by 2. All right, so those are the two. You can see them visually kind of represented on there with 2 times a and 2 times 5, and you can see that we've decided to put some little arrows in there so you can see it. And then we're going to just kind of write them over here. All right, so what is 2 times a? Well, when we're multiplying a number and a letter or an algebra or a variable, we literally just put them next to each other, but we'll come to that in a second. And then we're going to do 2 times 5, so they're the two written. And like I said, 2 times a is written as 2a, and then 2 times 5, well, you hopefully know that one, and that's going to be 10. And that's it. That is you expanding the bracket. That is you literally saying 2 lots of a and 2 lots of 5 is 2a's and 10. All right, and that's it done. All right, there are a couple of variations on this, and that's a very straightforward example. So we might as well cover those off now, where you have slight variations with negative numbers and different letters. All right, so that's what we're going to look at now. Right, so this example, you can see the only variation, obviously the numbers have changed, but you now have a negative inside, all right, and that does matter, and it's really important you recognise that. So we are going to do 7 times b, and we are then going to take away 7 times 3, all right, so that's what that means. So we just need to write that as I said it, really. So 7 times b, and we're going to take away 7 times 3. All right, there you go. So 7 times b and 7 times minus 3. So 7 times b is just written 7b, and 7 times 3 is 21. So there you have it, 7b minus 21. Okay. Right, the next variation is potentially if you've got maybe some additional numbers to deal with. So you can see from here that the 3 seems to have appeared, which we haven't had before. But that should not make it any more complicated. It really shouldn't. Because we're still going to times the numbers that we see, and anything that's a letter we leave separately. So what is 4 times 3c? All right, so let's write that down, 4 times 3c, and then we're going to add there 4 times 8. We're going to add 4 times 8. All right. Well, we'll come to this 38, 32 in a minute, but over here we've got 4 times 3c's. All right. Well, if I said to you that was a carrot, for example, it'd be 4 lots of 3 carrots. Well, that would be 12 carrots, all right? We obviously don't know what the C represent, and I'm sure it's probably not a carrot. It doesn't really matter, but it's 4 lots of 3 of them. So that means there's 12 of them, okay? So we can times the two numbers, so we do, and we leave the little C next to it. So it's 12 somethings, so 12C plus, like I said, the 4 times 8, which is 32, all right? So we've looked at a couple of variations there. One other variation, which you may come across, and so you need to be aware of it, is, well, maybe you don't have a number on the outside, which we've had so far. Maybe we've got an A on the outside. Well, we handle these a little bit different because they are letters. So if you're not quite sure how to multiply by letters, then please look at our lesson on simplifying expressions. It'll be useful to kind of understand what to do, but I'm going to touch base with it here in terms of what you need to do anyway. So we're going to do a times 4a, and then take away a times 2. So right, let's write those two things down. So a times 4a, like I said, take away a times 2. All right. Right, so this one is the more awkward one. Right, well, in terms of the numbers, we've only got the 4. So the 4's got to remain. But we've also got a times a. All right, well, a times a, the only way I can write that differently is a squared. All right, so this is an indices kind of one, isn't it, essentially? And if you're not quite sure what that means when I'm talking about indices, then please look at the lesson on indices. But a times a is a squared. So I'm going to write that one there as 4a squared. And then over here, well, this is just 2a. All right, so 4a squared minus 2a, and that's it. Okay, can't do anything else with it. This is a squared and this is a, so they are different, so I have to leave them separate, and that's that done. All right, so that's expanding brackets essentially. We're going to look at one more little bit. Before I do, just a reminder, keep your eye on those negative numbers. All right, you know, at the minute I haven't kind of suggested that there's a negative on the outside. Of course, that could appear, but we're going to look at that in the next part of the lesson right now, to be honest. All right, so let's move on. Right, so we are still expanding brackets, but in this case, you might have more than one. All right, and if you have more than one, then you have to expand them separately first, and then look to simplify it. So it says on here, to expand simple brackets, you must first expand both brackets, and then add and subtract terms with the same letter to simplify. All right, so that's technically true. All right, but I'm going to walk you through it. All right, so let's look at an example. Here we go. So to keep it easy to start with, you'll notice that everything is positive and pluses and everything like that. Often makes your life a little bit easier because you don't have to worry about it. But your job really is to worry about it and keep your eye on it. All right, so we're going to do the 2 times the 4x first. So 2 times 4x is going to give me 8x, isn't it? And then 2 times the 1, which will give me 2. So 8x plus 2. So that's the first one. All right, that's that one. Plus, we're going to do 4 times x. So 4 times x, which is 4x. And 4 times the 5, which is going to give me 20. So 4x plus 20. So there are my 2 brackets expanded. But I am going to do that one. And again, keep your eye on this here. That one plus that one. All right. So I'm going to write those 2 things out, which is there. So 8x plus 2 plus 4x plus 20. All right. So when I'm simplifying it, I'm looking for the x's. How many x's I've got in total? So I've got 8x plus 4x. So that'll be 12 x's. And then I've got 2 plus 20, which is going to give me 22. All right, and there you go. All right, so that's not too bad. Right. Notice anything when I'm looking at this one? Well, these look very similar, but this is the thing that's going to kind of stump an awful lot of people. And unfortunately, I said this is the one that most people make mistakes on. I think I've mentioned in other videos, is watching those negative numbers and being very, very careful. This is going to separate you from other students in terms of getting this right, because some students will make a mistake on this one, I promise you. All right, let's hope that you don't. Right, so let's do them separately. All right, so 5 times the 2x, which will give us 10x, and then 5 times the 6 will give us 30. So 10x plus 30 is what I was going to say. Right, over here, we're going to do this one. But you'll notice what I've done here. You'll notice that minus there, I brought with it. All right. Why did I ignore it before? It didn't really matter because it was positives. But this really, really matters. All right. Because I'm doing minus 3 times 3x. I'm going to do minus 3 times 7. All right. Really, really important. You spot that. Okay. So minus 3 times 3x. Well, it's 9x, but of course it's minus 9x. And minus 3 times 7, which is minus 21. So you've got this. Right, if you're not quite sure why it's minus or why I've done that, then you need to look at your practice on multiplying negative and positive numbers. A quick summary, if your signs are different, so I've got minus 3 and a 7, for example, that's positive and that's negative, then my answer is going to be negative. All right, so it's still going to be 3 times 7, which is 21, but of course it's a minus. So if I look at this one, that's a minus and that's a positive. So because the signs are different, it gives me a negative answer. All right. Right, so I'm going to put them down now together. So we've got 10x plus 30 minus 9x minus 21. That's what I had written down. And this is what I need to kind of now simplify. So I've got 10x, take away 9x. Well, that's going to leave me with 1x or just x. And 30 take away 21 is going to give me 9. All right, so you can see it there. So 10x minus 9x is 1x. You'll notice I haven't written the 1. We tend not to need the 1 when we're dealing with just one of them. But that's 1x. And then 30 take away 29, which is going to be 9. All right. Let's just do one more tricky one. See if we can just make sure we don't make any mistakes. All right, let's just do another little one. All right, so really, really kind of quickly. 2 times 7x will be 14x. And 2 times 1, that's going to give me 2. All right, so 14x plus 2. I'm going to do minus 6 times x, which will be minus 6x. And then here, this is where, again, you've got to be extremely careful. A minus 6 times a minus 4 is going to give me plus 24. A negative and negative. I mentioned it a minute ago. So 2 negative make a positive. All right, so that's going to give me minus 6x plus 24. All right. Now, that is the one that you need to be really, really careful of. That minus and that minus there. All right. That is the one that I see, unfortunately, more often than any other students making mistakes on. All right. Let's not let that happen to you. So 4x take away 6x is going to give me 8x. And then plus 2 plus 24 is going to give me 26. All right. And you can see here, I've written it down. So minus 6x. So minus 6 times minus 4 is plus 24. And you can clearly see that that's my expectation. That's where I think students will make mistakes. All right. So that's one you've got to watch out for. Okay. Now, please go to the maths-school.co.uk website. Do practice these as much as you can, and just be very, very careful in terms of watching those negatives. All right. But thanks for watching.